Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning. Well, we're just letting everybody in. Just to say hi, I'm Karen from Small Business Britain. It's lovely, lovely to have you with us. If you want to drop a little hi in the chat, let us know where you are in the world. I'm always quite interested in what the weather's like. I don't know about you, Emma, but I'm quite into this. So London, I'm in London and it's sunny. It's a lovely day actually. What about you, Emma? You're in Brighton, aren't you?
I'm in Brighton, and we always do the UK weather watch, don't we, on these things? And it was nice and sunny, and so I closed the blinds, and now it's overcast, so the lights are on. I don't know if it knows if it's coming or going, frankly.
Right. It's one of those days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Up north. Oh, yeah. Hang on a minute. We're getting hello. So Italy, you win, Anna. Is it Anna?
Oh, that's not fair.
No, yeah, exactly. Anna. Yeah. Leeds, Huddersfield. Oh, yeah. So it's sort of a bit sunny everywhere, which is lovely. So that's
Nice.
nice to know that we're all enjoying the sunshine, whereas the other day was
A bit
like
of spring feeling as well, I've noticed
yeah,
sometimes.
hopefully. So as we're all getting in, I just want to welcome you to this very wonderful webinar that we are hosting with Indeed. Now, Indeed, we have worked with for a while now. They are fantastic. And we do our People for Business collaboration with them as Small Business Britain. And Indeed are the brilliant partners that really help small businesses hire with confidence. Because, we've all maybe experience hiring that first member of staff can be hugely daunting. So Indeed do sort of talk you through the process. So we're really happy to be partnering with them on this webinar today. And we are going to be looking today at strong business strategies and how to make one for 2025, because it can feel a bit overwhelming, can't it, when you sat with your notepad going, right, what am I going to do this year? So, and you just walk away from your notepad. But we have the wonderful Emma Mills-Sheffield with us, who is the founder of Mindsetup and is a business strategist, business coach, business consultant, and will be leading us through how to make a strong business strategy today. If you have any comments, any questions, it would be wonderful if you could pop your questions in the Q&A box and we will get to them later. If you've got any comments, the chat will be going. And if we don't get to everything today, we will make sure we answer your questions and follow up. The session is recorded. So again, we'll be sending this out to everybody afterwards. So enjoy. It's lovely, lovely to have you with us. I'll hand over to you, Emma. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Karen. I always say at the beginning of these, because I really love these sessions. My background was in big business. I have a sort of a corporate background, but as I always say, don't hold it against me. What it means is I can then take, I'd say, elements of big business experience, and now I tailor it for small and for scaling businesses. So when it comes to those, as Karen said, hiring your first person, all of those knotty sort of people problems, how you want to maybe build the operational side of your business, how you have a plan and know you're going in the right direction. And sometimes, you know what, it's just having a coffee with someone and saying, am I going bonkers? This is really hard. And you know what, I sometimes go bonkers with my business as well. So we're all in the same boat. But what I like to do in these sessions is give really super practical help and advice. There's nothing super complex. You can take what we covered today and you can kind of scale it up or down accordingly. We're not going super complex. We're not doing a big global organizational strategy where we're locked in a room for 2 days with 30 people. It's not like that. We're sitting there thinking, actually, with my small business, if I had an hour and a notepad and a pen, what can I do? So that's very much how I like to approach it. So I'll give you a little bit of giving you a bit of background to me. Yes, I live near Brighton and I love it. My commuting to London days are over, and I work, although I still work around the country, I love where I am in Sussex. And I sit on 2 boards, one for a charity, one for the Brighton Chamber of Commerce. And I sort of potter about and do quite a bit, to be honest. So do get me on LinkedIn or Instagram and tell me what your business is. Send me any questions and just connect, and we can kind of support that small business community as we keep going. I have recently, well, actually, I sort of made it dormant, but I started just for fun, a small marmalade making business in lockdown, which then won 2 world awards, 2 silvers at the World Marmalade Awards, which actually exist. Now, the reason I put that in there, because it is a little bit of a left field addition, and the fact that I have put it into hibernation now, is to just prove that it's easy to sit here and say, well, I'm a consultant, and people go, but you don't know what it's like to run a business. I do run my own business, and I have for 6 years. Everyone in Small Business Britain has that small business background. We get it completely. And so starting up a product-led business from nothing, literally bootstrapped at the kitchen table, was just my kind of experiment to see how can it be done? How hard is it? What are the challenges? So I always add that in as a sort of a slight, a slight left field addition, because I get it. I understand service-led business and I understand product-led. So let's move into business strategy now. And this can be a little bit of a, there's lots of terminology in here that you hear and think, oh, I don't know what it means. This is when we strip it all down, we make it practical. So as Yogi Berra, the famous American baseball player, said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. Now, we can have fun along the journey, but I always think of business strategies sort of having that GPS for your business, so you know where you should be going. And if you go off track by a degree or two, that's okay. You know how to bring it back on. What you don't want to do is suddenly take a fork in the road, disappear somewhere else and think, how did I get here? So in this session, we'll cover how to get creative with your big ideas, because I do know, as entrepreneurs and small business owners, you have a lot. So we're going to harness those then into sort of a page so we can narrow them down to actually create a strategy. We'll then look at how to put the basics of a plan in place to make sure you can get it done. And then how to make decisions which support your strategy. And this is so important, because often we can go way off, get all excited again, find something new and then go, why am I doing this again? So we'll make sure we understand how to make good decisions. So what is a strategy? That's the first question. It's a high-level plan. It outlines how your business will achieve its goals and succeed in the market that you happen to operate in. It gives you the what, the why, and the how of reaching those desired outcomes. It means you can focus on your key priorities, resources, and competitive advantages. So ultimately, the what are the objectives and goals that you want to get to. The why is really important. That's very personal. It's the purpose or vision that drives your business. And then the how is the kind of like the map, is the actions, tactics, resources needed to execute the plan. And those resources could be just yourself, whereas those resources could actually be the fact that you do need to hire people to help you or lean on freelance support. But what's really important is a good strategy is clear, it's actionable, and it's adaptable to change. Now, I don't mean you flip-flop constantly, but when change happens, like one of your key suppliers goes bankrupt, or let's not talk about COVID, but it happened. So if something happens, then you can change and you can kind of adapt your tack. You can look online at some of the the really big businesses who have very, very clear strategies. We have things like Apple. So their strategies around creating beautifully designed, user-friendly products that integrate seamlessly into a bigger tech ecosystem. So they are premium in their pricing, they have marketing exclusivity, people don't really compete in exactly their space, and they focus on a few high-quality products only. So what it means is that they then rank as one of the most valuable brands globally. We all know Apple products, and we all know what they do for us, those benefits and the feel. We don't often know what happens inside them. And generally, we don't really care. Now, some people do love the features, but often it's that emotional buy-in. It's the kind of, wow, I've got this product. That's their strategy. They don't kind of disrupt it. There's lots of companies like that where you have, so Nike, for instance, they inspire and innovate athletes through performance-focused products and emotionally resonant branding. So they really have those kind of iconic campaigns. They're quite cutting edge in their designs. They can also be, quite contentious with some of their advertising, but they do it very, very intentionally. Okay, so let's move on to some of the practical elements for how you can build your strategy. But ultimately, The big businesses still go through, similar processes. So how do you get there? Let's start with your goals. What are the long-term and short-term goals for you and for your business? Now, they might be separate, but typically you're going to be your business in a very small, in a small organization. So for you, you might say, well, actually, I want my business to really thrive. I think, well, yeah, we all do. But personally, you might say, you know what, once the kids have gone off to school, I've got way more time to focus on my business. So that is the time to do it. Or I want to then think about exit in 3 years' time. I want to retire out. I've had a brilliant time, but I want to make sure I've got a robust business I can then hand to someone else, or I can sell, or I can just wind it up very neatly and tidily. So think about your long-term goals. Then you can think about your business goals too. The purpose piece is the why. So why do you do what you do, and why does your business exist? Now, this sounds a bit grand, but what's the higher purpose or cause that you serve? Ultimately, it's it's the guiding star that you may or may not get to, but it's aspirational. So if you give you an example, and I know it sounds mad, but I always refer to T-shirts here because I think it's really straightforward. We can just visualize it and we understand the supply chain and everything. So your purpose might be that you want to reduce the amount of fast fashion clothing items that get made and disposed of in landfill. So you have a very sustainable purpose in your business, and that's really, your driving sort of force. Your vision could be then to support job creation in a developing country by only selling clothing made from recycled fibers with good wages and, staff well-being and that sort of thing. So you have a very, very clear view of who you're going to work with in that supply chain. You might say your vision, and it's aspirational really, is that anybody involved in, making cotton always has a fair wage. I mean, that's huge, right? That's global. So, but you always know that's what you're aiming towards, which means you're less likely to make bad decisions if another product comes your way that happens to just be cheaper. So you've always got that that view. So that's if your business is successful, when it's successful, that's the picture you're painting, under the vision. So that is that you're supporting job creation in a developing country and so on. But that purpose is really why you get out of bed in the morning. And then the mission is what drives you towards it. It guides you and your employees into the future. It gives you your strategic plan. It's motivational. Everyone is involved in their role. So your mission here for the T-shirt business could be that you're only sourcing ethically produced goods with a clear view of their supply chain with their full sustainability credentials available. So you want to focus on T-shirts in the first instance, because that then gets the message of your brand out there. So that might be year 1, year 2, but then you can start going into other products once you know you've got that brand following and that sort of brand authority. So take some time, sit down, look at your goals, your purpose, your vision, and your mission, and you'll come away with a really nice warm feeling that you go, actually, I get it. This is why I do what I do. It's harder if it's a very, not generic business, but there will be something. Your purpose might be, actually, I don't want to go and have to work 50 hours a week again for someone else. My purpose is that I have a business I can do 5 hours a day when the kids are at school, and then I'm happy. That is also okay. That's not a problem. But then that means what you're doing is your vision and your mission are helping support that without you now taking on too many things all at once, because you kind of know what your boundaries are. So all the big ideas, which I know you have permission to draw a big old splodge on a page. So this is your chance to get creative. And I always think of it as like the art of the possible. If you could do anything in your business, what would you do? You can go wild or not, that's fine, and come up with all of the thoughts you have about where you want your business to go, what you want to do, how you want to do it, and so on. But there's a caveat here. I want loads of ideas. I don't mean 3, I mean 15, 20. Get them all out on a page. Often when we're really pushing that limit and thinking, I don't know, I can just, I could do something wild. That's when the penny drops. And that's when you think, interesting. I've never thought of that before, because you're really pushing those creative boundaries to get the crazy ideas out. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to do all of them. And actually, please don't, because it could be too many. But what we need to do is now take the few key ones and make them into something more tangible. So after you've done your sort of purpose and vision and everything, now you spend some time getting wildly creative. Then we need to narrow it down into something that you go, well, that was fun, but how on earth am I going to do the following? How am I going to buy a factory in Indonesia to make my t-shirts? Like, maybe not, but it might lead you on to an idea about what you can do next. So how do we make things more tangible? It's all well and good saying, here's a bunch of stuff, have a nice time. But how do you make it into something that can then form a practical plan? And that's the science, not just the art. So in this example, I'm going to say you are a ceramicist or a jeweler, because we understand it's a very creative space. There's a lot of time involved, a lot of skill and creativity, and then something physical has to be sold. So how do you identify your top priorities? Take all of those crazy ideas from your cloud. You might have binned a few. Some of them might be a bit dull, and you think, actually, I'm not bothered about those. But what I want to do now is put them all on sticky notes and start to move them around and work out what's got high potential or growth, but also what is high risk or cost. So if we look at, say, top right, what you might really want to do is take a year's lease on a shop space so you can physically sell your products. Really high potential and growth because it gets you out into the public domain, into a market space. However, so into your target market. However, it's really high risk and cost because you committing to 12 months plus a deposit, everything else. That's quite a lot. So you put it on this chart, then you can decide what you do with it later. If we move across to the top left, you'll see there's another sticky on there that says you might rent a space at a local seasonal market. Now, it's the same potential and growth because you're still getting out there into your target market, but it's way lower risk and cost. So you might start with that and say, actually, I'm going to rent a space at the rent a stall at the farmers markets. And do that for like 3 or 6 months and just see how it goes. It's a brilliant low risk way of getting out there without committing to a shop or anything like that. You've got on the opposite side, bottom right, you might need space to make your items. So you really want a permanent lease at an art studio. Really high risk and cost, again, because you've got that long-term lease commitment. However, potential and growth, not really. Ultimately, your customer doesn't really know where you made the products or sometimes often care. So is it worth doing? Is it worth investing your money? Only you can tell. And then you've got lots of other items on here that might be, it might be launching a new product line is quite tricky. But in reality, if you just increase your prices by 10%, it's not really any risk and cost involved. You might lose a couple of customers, but the potential for your growth is much higher. So just spend some time on kind of mapping things out like this, because what it does is then gives you perhaps 3 to 5 things to focus on. And it also takes away the sort of the fear around, am I making a good decision? Because once you look at the black and white facts, you can start to really skinny that down quite quickly. Another option here, so what I'm doing is giving you sort of the background of lots of bits of strategy, is around what are the risks and rewards? So here, the Ansoff matrix is about product market expansion. And I've given you some examples here to show you what those might be. So you can expand your product and market by market development, top left. So actually, sorry, let's start bottom left, right? So you can go, the lowest risk is penetrating the current market you have. Existing markets, existing products. You've already got your customer base. So again, in the t-shirt example, you might do variations on your kids' shirts. You might start doing different age groups, different designs. It's kind of your comfort zone, and you might just start to expand it. You might then do matching large and small. So siblings have got, ranges they can wear together. And that's just a variation on what you do. On the right-hand side, you might develop your product for the same market. So that could be adult t-shirts or tote bags for your existing parents, potentially, because creating bags would be, a new product for you. But same people, you could upsell at the, your checkout. Top left, market development. Same kids t-shirts, but you've been selling them online so far. Now you want to sell them in a new area physically, a new location. So that's a new market, but it's the same product again. You're just getting that exposure out to other people. Top right, this is where we often get really carried away and excited as small business owners into diversifying completely. It's much higher risk, but it could be high reward. So here we've got something completely different, really. You're already selling kids t-shirts, but now you want to sell baby and toddler shoes. A completely different product, completely different supply chain, different audience. They might be the same people who buy your t-shirts, but do they know you for your shoes? Probably not. So it doesn't mean you can't do it. What it means is it gives you the evidence to say, well, if this is what I really want to commit to, because all of my parents are coming in saying, oh, it's a shame you don't do shoes as well, because maybe the shoe shop's closed down in town, it might be a brilliant opportunity for you. But what it means is you can do it with some authority and some confidence that actually it's worth you committing to. So that's another technique you can use to decide how you want to sort of balance risk and reward. And then this good old SWOT analysis. So looking into your business and outside the business as well. You need to be aware of your competition, but they're not always the voice of the market or your audience. So your strengths internally, what is it you do well? How can you build on those, enhance them, and do more of it? Also, your weaknesses, how do you resolve and reduce those? Might be that you're not great at IT and website updates. Well, in which case, maybe that's the time to get somebody in to help you do that. Opportunities externally, what are the trends, the gaps in the market? That shoe shop that's closed down in town, maybe it's a great opportunity for you. In fact, maybe you could take on the lease for it because that gives you the right location and a bigger space for you to then put all of your range into. It could be a great opportunity like that. Threats externally, competitor edge, market influence and obstacles, how to avoid and overcome. Now, this is it's always a double-edged sword. There's a good quote from Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, that just says if you're competitor focused, you have to wait until there's a competitor doing something. Being customer focused allows you to be more pioneering, which is great. But I do know bottom right, a big threat on price for lots of small businesses will be the fact that you can shop online and get things at a lower cost from certain big websites. So it's just understanding how you differentiate and say, you know what, I can't win on price. What I can do is absolutely win on face-to-face customer service and, the sort of the brilliant experience people have when they come into your shop. So again, spending a bit of time looking at this analysis, SWOT analysis, is really beneficial for your business. Value propositions. Right, I told you getting all the tools this morning. It's literally a whistle-stop tour of how to build a business strategy. So I hope you're keeping up. Value propositions, some people start with that, but I always think you have to know what's happening in the market, who your competitors are, what it is you actually want to do, because then you can look at what you build. And your value proposition is ultimately what you do, why you're brilliant, and what do people say about you. So now you've got all these ideas. You've tested them against what's maybe high risk or high cost and high potential and growth. You defined where your market sits and your audience is. You've done your SWOT analysis. Now you can build a value proposition. You really can't easily differentiate until you understand the market and your competitors. So start by mapping out what's the problem that your customer or client faces, or maybe the opportunity they haven't got because they haven't got your product or service yet. What's the impact of them not solving the problem or addressing the challenge? What's your solution? How will you do it? Proof of where you've done it well before. Even if you're new in business, when you've got your proposition, Can you start testing it with friends and family, or doing swaps with other business owners, or low cost interactions, so you can start to get those quotes and testimonials back from people? Then at the end, so what? What is the benefit to the customer or client after? Do they walk away because you've got these beautiful handmade or toddler and children's shoes that, you know what, they just can't get online because your fitting service is top notch, they have a great time, they know they're well made and they're good for their kids? And so the benefit at the end is that they walk away literally smiling, going, that's great, I love it, and I keep coming back more again and again and again, rather than shopping online and going, I don't know, they might not fit, is it the right thing for my children? The so what is really important at the end, because if you get to the end of this process and the benefit to the customer or client is like, and, well, they could go to any shop in town, then you've not got a value proposition that's strong enough. You then need to work out how you're going to compete against other shops in town. So do go through this. You might have 2 or 3 products, and so you can actually do this 2 or 3 times. But it's really helpful because, as the quote from Henry Ford is, you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. You have to build it on what you can do, and you have done. So once you've built your reputation, make sure you make the most of it with those Google reviews, quotes, everything you can, get it back out into your social media. So do hold on to that reputation once you've got it. Right, on a page. So your strategic objectives. So this again is what you do, why you're brilliant, what do people say about you? That's the value proposition. We now pull it into doing something tangible. So this year, you might say, I've got one thing, one big goal I want to do that's going to really change my business, and I can really focus on the one thing. And that is that I want to increase online product sales by 80%. Put a number on it, make it really tangible. Then you know what you're doing has an impact. Otherwise, you could just say increase product sales, but it's hard to then define if you're doing the right or wrong things. Underneath that, you might have 4 defining objectives. So it could be that you want to launch a new product range. So in this instance, we're going to be personalizing tote bags for your current customers. So it's fairly low risk, but it's a new product to market. What you then do underneath is a doing activity. And so that is that you're going to analyze what customers spend and what the trends are. Who else is out there selling tote bags? Who are you competing against? Is it going to work? You might say, actually, it's not tote bags, it's something else. But that's the sort of, that sits in that product range activity. Like if you had a really big company, all of your teams would be doing different things. Customer service team would be over here, your commercial team here, your marketing team here, and then your product team here. As a small business owner, you're probably all of those things. But these activities mean you know what you're trying to do rather than just spinning everything around at once. You need to define your online marketing strategy, and your doing objective there might be that you're outsourcing freelance social media support for all of your content and campaigns. You need a pricing strategy, and maybe for that you're broadening your supplier options to get best pricing and discounts. The more you buy, the cheaper it is, perhaps. Or try to reduce the risk. You might think it's a bit critical, especially if you're in catering or in hospitality. It's a bit risky to have everything with one provider. You might want to say, I think I need to have three suppliers just to make sure I don't have any disruption. And then always delivering great customer service. You might then help your customers by bundling things and offering packages of products, upselling at checkout to increase revenue, which all of that then goes into that online product sales increase. And just taking one main goal and breaking it down like this means that you've basically got a really tangible plan of actionable objectives. Otherwise, it's quite easy to put together a business plan in isolation from your main goal. It means you can avoid distraction with new ideas as well. Don't forget, we can be easily distracted and taken sideways by new ideas. Sparkly things, they don't help. We're like magpies. And distractions. And you think, oh, cool, someone else is doing something cool over there. And you think, oh, I have to do it as well. But do you really? Do you need to be doing that? Or would it be better if you just doubled down and focused on what you know that you do well? So we also have breaking things down, and if you've been to any of my business planning webinars, some of these bits might be familiar, but we need to think about how you stay on track for your 2025 strategy. So what is your 6-month objective? Align that to your strategy. That's kind of your long-term goal. That could be in your 80% online sales increase. You might say within 6 months, I want 30%, because it's going to take a while to get the foundations there. Then the growth will come. So that gives you something to work towards. So in 3 months, you've got a midterm objective, which is 10% growth. In a month, it could be my short-term objectives are to get my operating structures right, to get my online content right, to get my team right, to kind of get everything set up. Then you've got weekly activities, which are much more immediate. Daily tasks, creating 1 social media post a day. Maybe that helps. Or maybe you want to do that in a weekly block. All of this just gives you that sort of breakdown and keeps you accountable to yourself. But then make sure what you do is smart, that it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Try and be really sensible and practical here. Measure and monitor what you do. If you're trying to increase your sales, are you tracking how you actually get that revenue in? Are you tracking your social media interactions and that sort of traffic? Make sure you track those targets and then improve what doesn't work. And you can do it quickly if you keep measuring. Also celebrate. We can be rubbish at that. We run a small business. We're like, yeah, I did something really cool. Now I've got to get on with everything else. No, stop. Just celebrate. Like we don't do it enough, I don't think. We don't pat ourselves on the back and say, you know what, that's brilliant. I'm going for a cocktail because I did a good thing. So make sure you just support yourself as you grow in your business. So the last couple of bits coming up, we have some sort of 10 tips on getting your strategy into a plan. Make sure it's clear and focused. Equally, it's not too detailed or hard to work with. There's nothing worse than having pages and pages and pages that really keep you bound. If in doubt, put it on a page. That's okay. Put it on your notice board by your computer. Then you know what you're working towards and it's easy to do. And also you don't fall out of love with it. You need to acknowledge the competition and opportunities in the market. You have clear goals and smart objectives. Your strategy is flexible or adaptable, so you're tracking performance regularly, so you know if you need to make a change. You also have realistic timelines and milestones. So this is often a problem, especially when people start out in business, because you don't have a reference point. You go, right, I'm going to go from 0 to 500,000 in 3 years. Okay, how are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to get, say 200,000 in the first year, 300, etc., etc. Like, how are you going to do that? So you need to be realistic and say, well, actually, if I'm trying to sell product, is August absolutely dead? And is Christmas really busy? Therefore, is January dead as a sales flow? Do I actually have, once I've taken out my holidays, probably about 9 months a year of running a business? Right. Okay, how are you going to max out on those busy months and how are you going to then make the most of those quiet months? If August is deadly quiet, that's probably when you should take your holiday. First year of business for me, I thought, I'll go away in July whilst everyone else isn't on holiday. That'll be a bit cheaper, that'll be great. I ended up working a whole bunch whilst I was away. And when I came back in August and I was raring to go, no one else was around. So in reality, it was really disjointed. Lesson learned, next year, go away in August when everyone else does, because it doesn't matter. So once you've got those sort of the timeline of the year and that flow and that seasonality, you can then set your milestones and it makes it much more realistic. You need to know, number 7, you've got a clear target market and audience, and you have a marketing plan. You've also researched it. You've got good research and data gathering. Don't just say, my product is for everybody. Anyone who walks past is going to want to buy it. They're not. Everything is a bit marmitey. And that's fine, because you want to know people really don't want it, because then you can focus on the people who really do. Number 9, you've got the resources you need to deliver. It could be you, it could be staff, it could be tech, it could be whatever you need. And then also, lastly, this is so important, that you're really clear on what you won't do. It's easy to think about all the things we will do, but we need to know what we won't. And that won't could be an ethical decision. It could be a moral, decision. It could be the fact that actually I won't get distracted beyond this one product line. That is the one thing I have to do. Perfect. It saves so much effort as well when you're not constantly looking out, wondering what else you might do. So lastly, we've got making good decisions. This sort of model is around having like the 5 C's. So 1, clarify. Define your decision and its importance. And so this decision could be more space. Do I hire somebody? Do I start a new service line? So what is my decision and its importance? Then collecting data. So do I gather relevant data from customers, feedback, insights? It could be, for instance, like you do need to hire, you've got your first person coming in. So my decision is I need to hire somebody because I'm absolutely maxed out and I'm exhausted. Okay, what do I need? Who do I need? So what data do I need? Is it the fact that actually there's a real blocker in the sales process or in picking and packing items to get them out and posting? So perhaps what I need is somebody who can really just help with that, a good operational administration sort of support person. Then consider your options. So evaluate your options, the risks, the opportunities. If you've now got enough consistent revenue coming in, you might say, actually, it's pretty low risk to take someone on permanently. Or you might think, short term, I'm going to get someone in on a contract or a freelance basis to help because it's lower risk. Then you can choose and decide on how this aligns with your goals and the impact they'll have. And then check, monitor results, adapt, refine if needed. What's important here is to test and learn from something small. So before you go and buy 50,000 tote bags to brand and sell, maybe just start with 20 when you have your next, stall at a farmer's market and see if anyone actually is interested. So it doesn't matter then, you can kind of try small, fail fast. And if they just fly off the shelf, then that's it, great. Market testing done, off you go. So just by putting in these kind of 5 C's, it really helps you understand what your decision making is. This is quite a nice quote here that I like, is that the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. So always think about that when you're kind of looking at that GPS line that you're following in your business. And if in doubt, always remember the magpie of reason. Resist the sparkly things. It's too easy to look sideways and suddenly start picking things up that we like the look of, but don't go off track just because something's caught your eye. So make sound decisions, stand firm, and you're not going to go far wrong. Karen, any questions?
There are. Hello. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful, as always. And thank you so much for everybody's wonderful comments in the chat. And it's lovely seeing that you're all sharing. So we do have a few questions, Emma, please, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So
I haven't even seen the chat. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, everyone's been brilliant. So it's first off, thank you, Emma. It's been really helpful. I'm finding it difficult to relate and remain stuck because I am thinking of a service-based business, intangible. So in what ways can I adapt this? Sorry if you covered this already.
No, not at all. No, I generally sort of go with product because I think we can all sit there and go, gotcha. I can visualize it. So with service, it's very similar. Who is your audience? Who are you serving? If you are business to business, you also want to think about who your client serves, because ultimately you're kind of one step away. But to help them, you need to have, they need to also be doing the right thing for their customers. So it's exactly the same for services. It can be a little bit harder on the purpose, I think, sometimes, depending what you do. You might say, I'm an IT service provider. Great, that's good. But is it that I make life easier for small businesses so they can free up time? Great, that's fine. That's okay, it's the purpose. So it is the same. Your competition, you might know them because you network and you see them often. So yeah, it's not too dissimilar.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Another question. I really get mixed up between vision and mission. Can you just explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the vision is very much, if I was successful, no, when I'm successful, if I painted a picture, what would it look like? You know, what have I done that's great? Whereas the mission is, how do I get there? So imagine, I always say M for mission, M for map. You know, it's kind of like, what's that map that gets you there? And that is that I have to take a series of steps. The vision is, I'm going to be on a, tropical island drinking pina coladas. But actually, to do that, I need to research it, book a flight, book a taxi, pack a suitcase. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah. Brilliant, thank you. I've often been told sell it first, then build it after. What is your view on that? And where does that sit in terms of strategy and planning?
Oh, it's really funny, isn't it? It's kind of build it and they will come. It depends what you're doing, what you're selling. If it's fairly quick, like an MVP, minimum viable product, and you can get something to market quickly, test it, see if people want it, great. Then you can go back and go, right, how do I now do this really robustly? But if it's a case of it's going to cost me £200,000 to invest and create something, and I don't know if anyone wants it, I'm putting that into the high risk, high cost bucket on that one. So it's not wrong, but it's a case of that market testing. Can you do it safely? Or are you going to commit a whole bunch of money and maybe lose your shirt over it?
Yeah. Brilliant, thank you. Lauren, hi Lauren. I want to build my strategy for the year, but I will be taking some time out for maternity leave in 2 months. Congratulations. Do you have any advice on how to manage my time with a break? Likely 2 months closing my shops and gradually fitting things back in.
Okay, so that is probably one of the biggest things to try and juggle along with any caring responsibilities. If you have the energy, try and plan as much as you can in advance. Maybe you're pre-scheduling your, all your social media, your campaigns, that sort of thing. Do you have anyone that can help to cover? Do you have to accept, you know what, when I talked about seasonality, that is your seasonality, that there will be a dip, but you might want to schedule things to keep people interested in your brand so that when you come back and you're phasing that back in, you're kind of picking it up again. But be kind to yourself and don't, assume necessarily your revenue is going to be the same every month, because that's hard.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Lena, you mentioned the top goal, and if I have 3 to 4 objectives, then do I need to have a detailed plan, short, medium, and long for each of them? And if yes, how do I track each?
Well, you can have one for each. That's not a problem. It depends on who's delivering on those objectives, whether it's just you or whether you might say, here's one for marketing, and I've got someone who does my marketing. Cool, off you go. But if you are doing all three, whether you need to do them equally or whether you can do them in time, by that I mean sequentially, that for this quarter or this month, I'm just going to focus on this. In which case, that is my big one thing. And then once I've done it, I can move on to the next one. So only you will know how much effort it will be. What I try and encourage people to do is not to have too many objectives and thinking, oh, I've got to be doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, because you probably won't do all of them particularly well. So just focus on the one thing that will move your business forward now, this week, this month, this quarter, then move on to the next one.
Fantastic. Adaku, hello. How do you know when to stop working with someone? I currently have someone doing SEO, Facebook ads, etc. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is rather. It could just be on values, feel, etc., etc. And you might think, actually, we don't align anymore. Often the business might have grown, but someone hasn't grown with you. That's okay to say, you know what, we have to call time. It could be they've delivered something great, and so you've actually got what you want out of it. But just be mindful that they might have delivered it and it's great, but once they've gone, it stops. So I can't answer whether you need to call time or not, but just think about the value they add. But if you also think, oh no, they've emailed me and it just makes me feel ick, then that's a feeling that you go, no, it's probably time.
Trust your gut, right? Trust your
Trust your
gut.
gut.
And last one, Karen. Hi, Karen. Great name. Any tips on how do you get your clients to buy a completely new product you are offering? It's a big marketing tool as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you would know because you sold your first product at some point. But now you have the brand credibility and the sort of the reputation behind you. So yeah, great marketing opportunity, as you say. It's time to promote it. It's time to, have a teaser or include free samples or whatever it is you want to do. So you've kind of done the hard work already, I would say, because you've already got products by the sounds of it. Just keep doing it again and again.
Going. Amazing. So
Yeah.
that leads me to say a massive, massive thank you, Emma. That was phenomenal as always. It
Yeah.
was so informative. I hope everybody watching found it really insightful and helpful. And we will be sending out this presentation to all people that signed up. So don't worry if you missed things or you were frantically taking notes and you missed it. Don't worry, you'll be having it in your inbox hopefully later today or definitely tomorrow. Please, a big thank you to Indeed, our partners on this. Please do check out their People for Business with Small Business Britain's program on Small Business Britain's website. Can I say Small Business Britain anymore? My goodness. But thank you ever so much. Have a lovely, lovely days, and we will see you very soon. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.